In the past 10 years, I've grown a small group of 12 friends and colleagues into a strong network of over 7,000 people. Through developing myself and other leaders, I've come to own that I play a key role in building relationships among Lean In leaders locally and globally. Through this journey, one of the biggest lessons I've learned is the power of leading and building community with love. So love is passion, vulnerability, and commitments. And that looks different for each of us, but I'm going to share my version. I welcome your questions at the end. So please wave your hand if your life is better because of your efforts to build community. All right, awesome. Please raise your hand overhead in a stretch if you've heard of Sheryl Sandberg, former Chief Meta Officer, CO at Meta, and shown in this picture here. Raise your hand if she's come to your house. So yes, Sheryl came to my house 5 months after I started a Lean In Circle in 2013. Here is a picture from that day. So how did this come about? Why did Sheryl come to my house? She likes Minneapolis. Her late husband, Dave Goldberg, grew up in Minneapolis. Her mother-in-law, the late Paula Goldberg, started the Pacer Center for Kids with Disabilities. So Dave Goldberg was raised by a feminist activist before he married Sheryl. But ultimately, Sheryl came to my house because I had built relationships with love. Again, my mentor, Gary Hollander, has taught me that psychologist Robert Sternberg says love is made up of passion, vulnerability, and commitment. And I remember it with PVC pipes, which is often the connectors in people's homes. So starting with passion, what are a few things that you're passionate about? What gets your heart racing? Put it in the chat. For me, it's inclusion and generosity. This is my friend Julia, who definitely does both of those things. So I have noticed that passion expands your world, increases the quality and quantity of your relationships. People remember you. They remember what you talked about. And you remember other people when they talk about their passions. So keep putting those ideas of what you're passionate about in the chat. I know we asked you, what could you talk about for 10 minutes with anyone on the icebreaker question. So if you've read Sheryl's book, Lean In, or heard her speak, she talks about earning mentoring by doing cool stuff. So that cool stuff is basically your passions. So my experience is that mentoring is more reciprocal and more sustainable when it's built on shared passions. So this is me and Dr. Scott Davies. He is my push-up partner for many years, and he challenged me to do 1,000 push-ups on our toes in several sets. And we met because of our shared passion for strength training and for health. So over the last 10 years, I realized that a lot of people coming to Lean In are leaning into leaning in. They don't know what they are leaning into. So as a result, our network focuses on helping people discover their passions and supporting them through free 8-month peer coaching circles. We just launched our last group, our 9th group, last Saturday. Speaking of passions, over the last 4 years, I've developed a strong passion for virtual co-working. So I've done almost 10,000 FocusMate sessions, and we have 1,800 members in our Lean In Together FocusMate group. So coming back to that unlikely event of Sheryl coming to my house. Why did she come to my house, not someplace bigger? Well, I had written a profile explaining that I was working on my sense of home. I grew up with my mom doing family daycare in my home. And when the staff of the Lean In Foundation realized that my home was important, they said, okay, Sheryl will come to your house. So by putting my story out there on the web, where there is no free eraser, don't forget, I stepped outside my comfort zone and let people get to know me personally. So that second topic of love is vulnerability. And one of the best parts of being a Lean In leader is you hear Lean In stories. And one of the stories, so a Lean In story is going outside your comfort zone. And these stories have made me less naive and more brave. The story that stands out of all the stories I've heard is one of the first Lean In leaders I connected with in 2013, Jana Morelli in Seattle. So Jana was 27 when she got the flu. It damaged her heart. And after 9 years of getting sicker and sicker, she had a heart pump put into her body. And she got on the heart transplant list. I happened to be in Seattle in 2017 when she got news that there was a heart available, which of course is a really sad thing. But the most amazing thing, besides knowing a Lean In leader with a heart transplant, is that Jana says if she could go back in time, she would get the flu again. Take a moment to let that sink in. She says the time she caught the flu, her life was good, but she wasn't brave. She said that dealing with years of life-threatening illness caused her to become brave. And 80% of the good things in her life come from being brave. So the bigger mission of Lean In is more women running our organizations and more men running our homes. And I think we are going to accomplish this by fostering that sort of bravery and by unleashing initiative and leadership. So if we had more time, we would practice being brave by answering this classic Lean In question: what would you do if you weren't afraid? And even more powerfully, sharing our answers. The last element of love is commitment. Commitment is the booster rocket that amplifies your passion and vulnerability. Commitment isn't sexy. Maybe it shouldn't be. It's in the background, because what's important is your purpose, your why, and your mission of what you're committed to. However, when you have commitment, like a group that's been around for 10 years, you've been tested, hard things have happened. I'm not talking about them here, but you become like a redwood tree, and that makes you unshakable, which is an important thing to have in the world, as things can be very transient. So when I met two Lean In leaders from Beijing and California, I felt that same awe-inspiring energy as you would feel. Most of it, I think, has felt if we've been around those giant trees. So these leaders had such a strong sense of purpose and commitment. They were going to move things forward despite political repression, cultural ostracism, and these kind of leaders meeting these kind of really amazing people is what fuels my mission to make sure we attract and retain a wide range of Lean In leaders through all the ways we have organized the global community. Cultural conference extensions, we have an unofficial directory, we have a Slack group, and these are just all ways that the Lean In community is not just local, but global and supports the larger mission. So that is the thing that I'm most proud of among the Lean In journey, is I've taken time to share what I've learned over the years. And specifically, I've written 240 updates to my supporters. So if I have something good, I definitely want to share it with others. So now that you know how I, along with many others, Mari Ruddy, Peggy Foster, the current team of Filson, Joelle, Charity, lots of people are making this network really strong, but we've done it with passion, vulnerability, and commitment. And when more people build their networks and their lives with love, it will move us all forward, and we will be able to embody that all for one and one for all. So thank you for your attention. But that's what I want to say. I would welcome your questions, and then we'll talk about how we can apply this to the next 10 years of this community.